practice a ton, but when it comes time to perform, I think some of the most successful creative performances are ones that are really created without a ton of forethought in terms of the actual production, which is completely at odds with concert promotion. So we came up with this title. I don't even remember what it is. It was so long ago. Something about a salsa explosion. So we got to work that in. So far we've covered, there's somewhere in the title that, I saw in the library, they had this great sign, and I saw like something about blues. So I kind of feel like we've done some of the blues, and then, maybe a little bit of like romantic explosion with Claudia, that bolero, a little bit, right? But there's nothing yet that's like salsa. So speaking of dancing, instead of like this or like this, someone else is going to demonstrate salsa, but it has to do with like the hips and the feet. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll do the workshop, and then we'll close with a salsa explosion. So I have to tell you, that's some of my favorite music, and I love playing it, and I'll be very, very delighted to get explosive up here with salsa. Oh no. Okay, all right. So, who has ever improvised before? Like comedy improv, or music improv, or recipe improv, where you realize you don't have all of the ingredients you need, so you improvise. So raise your hand. I just need to see. So, it's a lot of people. And if you start thinking about it, you actually improvise a lot throughout your life. By the time we're done, in the next 10 minutes or so with this workshop, you will all have your hands up. You'll be like, yes, now I've improvised too. So, cheers to that. One of the biggest questions I get running New York Jazz Academy and working, I work with students and give workshops all over the place all the time. And one thing that I always hear from non-musicians is, how on earth does jazz even work? Like, how did that even just happen? Like, what is going on? And some of that is maybe not knowing entirely what's going on, or it might be a more specific question of really, wait, what exactly is going on? So if you've ever had this question about music and concerts, I'm hoping to shed some light on that, because I find the process really fascinating for me, and I've been doing it for many decades now, but I think also it's something that it's much easier to tap into, because we're all actually expert improvisers. We're born as improvisers, and there are some limitations. Like, it's good to know an instrument to improvise music. That can be a help. Sometimes I'll get a saxophonist who'll come to me and say, I really want to learn how to improvise. And I'll say, well, just last week I had a saxophonist show up and he said, I really want to learn how to improvise. I said, great, I would love for you to improvise. And I see you brought a saxophone. I said, great, why don't you take it out so I can hear you? So he started opening up the case, but he was opening it up upside down. So the saxophone would have, I said, wait, hold on, you have to turn the case up. He said, I don't even know. This is the first time ever opening the case. I said, okay, wait a second. You know what you need first is lessons. And then we'll get to improv. So it does make a difference to know an instrument. But that being said, what we're going to do right now doesn't require any instrument, because I just want to share with you a concept of improvisation that everyone can participate in. I'll take some volunteers, and then we'll basically take what your ideas are and help you see how they can turn into music. So, if you have a sheet of paper like this, I'm just going to walk you through this. It's pretty self-explanatory, but basically, improvisation is really not much different than storytelling. And I think the greatest improvisers in jazz history were all storytellers. They were just doing it through their music. But if you can allow a story to unfold when you're improvising, you can really captivate an audience. Now, this is not the only way to improvise, but I do think it's the one that connects most with all of us, because who doesn't love a good story? You know, this is what we enjoy about reading a book or going to a movie or a show. And it's really no different when you go to hear live music, if there are, in fact, storytellers up on stage doing this. So, the first thing you need is a small idea. And this can be anything, but it's great to start small, because then you can contain your story around something that is really meaningful to you. So I want you all on your own. I'm not going to call on anyone yet, so I'll ask you when to raise your hand, and then I'll pick on different people. I want you to think of an idea. This could be anything. It could be even an abstract concept. But I'd say the easiest ones to think of are things that move, characters. So it's sort of like when you start telling a story, you might say, there once was a man who did this. Okay, so you have the idea of the character. So in the Let's Try It section, you'll see pick an animal. That one will be fun. We'll probably have some kids who come up with some good animals. So pick an animal for that. The second part is to describe and develop your idea. So if you're thinking there was a man, he could be, there was a very, very, very sad man. Okay, so now you have something. And that brings you to part 3, which is where the story actually starts. And here you have only what happens next. So in the case of storytelling, it would be there was a sad man who met someone, or what else? What did the sad man do? Shout it out.
He met a squid.
Went to squid.
He met a squid.
He met, oh good, yeah, so he met a squid. All right, so now we have something interesting. I love this. See, it's very easy because you can think anything. You know which role my family is in.
They have all the tricks.
And at that point, you're off to the races, because the question of what happens next never ends until your story ends. At some point, you will stop telling the story. But the real simple question is there, what happens next? And there are a million different ways. Only your imagination will limit you. So what I want to try is setting some of these to music so you can actually hear the evolution of the initial idea, how it's developed, and then how the story unfolds. So I need a first volunteer who has it thought out, step 1, step 2, and step 3. So step 1, for this example, we're just going to say, pick an animal. Step 2 is describe the animal. And step 3 is, does the animal, or tell your story. So does the animal get in trouble? Does the animal meet someone? It could be anything. So do I have a volunteer?
Probably again.
Look at this studio here. I'm going to take the one who is not my child. You want to come up?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, go easy on us. Okay, so what's your name?
Edison.
Yep. And Edison, what animal would you like to?
Squid.
Oh my gosh, that's a perfect musical idea. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. Okay, squid. And just do the next description or development.
Yellow.
Yellow. Oh my goodness. That reminds me, stay right there, stay right there. That reminds me, I also write film music. And that's like the film director, after he hears the story, says, like it a little more purple. So yellow, can you describe the squid even more? Like what is the squid feeling, or I don't know. Is the squid fast or slow? Squid. That's very squid-like. I like that. Okay, sort of fast, sort of slow. Okay, all right, we can work with that. And then let's see. Let's do story time. Okay, so what happens next?
It goes into space.
That's very Coltrane-esque. don't think we can handle that. Between, there's a lot of jazz musicians who went into space. This will now become the Javier Arau Orchestra. Tribute to Sun Ra coming up. Okay, so he goes into space. Does anything happen in space?
I don't.
He could just float around up there.
Yeah.
All right, great. Okay. Oh my gosh, what have I done? Okay, here we go. Ready? I love it. Thank you, Edison. And you're going to watch this come alive. First, we need the squid, and then he's going to go like yellow, and then he's going to go to space. So the only thing we need to decide as a group, and we may not even need to say this, but there are musical issues like tempo and style. So we'll kind of see what happens. And I think what we'll do is put this over a song form. So we're going to use Autumn Leaves as our song form and see if the squid can come to life over that. One chorus. Your guess is as good as mine, so let's just see if we can hear this sucker. Here we go. Sort of talk over what we played. So we tried to come up with an idea that it was a little filled with appendages. So instead of being very direct, like a racehorse. It's just something where when I started, kind of added to Bob's bass, which was much slower and more lumbery. Started with something like this. It was my attempt to offer one squid's appendage over here and another squid's appendage over here. And as the piece progressed, I tried to send that squid up to Mars. So I not only climbed up the horn higher and higher, but I started to get more and more esoteric, sort of floating up into the ether. So my mind started to do this. And I think there at the top, all of a sudden we were in an atmosphere that was way, way up here. We can go ahead and we'll stop the music for a second. So that was our squid version of Autumn Leaves. Now, the truth is, when you're improvising, if you can keep a focus on an idea and come up with a direction for it, all of a sudden the clarity becomes so much greater for all of us as musicians too. So I play a lot of piano, and I always love when a horn player is actually dealing with a theme that he then develops. Now in the case of this, the theme was a little bit harder to hear because it had a lot of limbs. But even if you take something very, very simple, just a couple notes, and you allow that to be your theme, that to be your character, it can develop over the course of a solo, and the audience really can appreciate it too, because you can kind of latch on to one simple idea and listen as it kind of develops over the course of a solo. Just for the sake of time, I think we're going to leave Edison as the only volunteer today. But I'll stay later if my daughters want to.
Right.
No, I'm joking. No, but seriously, if anyone else wants to try out their animal with us afterwards, we would be delighted. I'll play a little version on the saxophone for you. We're going to wrap up the entire workshop right now with a performance of Oye Como Va. And give it up for Oye Como Va. I like this idea of people who actually, have the urge to get up on their feet to do it, because it's much more fun. Because I love teaching, I'll teach you one thing about Oye Como Va, which is really fun, which is just a very, very simple rhythm that I call the down, down, up, up rhythm. Something about music is you got downbeats, and you got the space in between the downbeats, which are the upbeats. And you don't necessarily hear the upbeats unless someone is playing those upbeats. So a down, down, up, up rhythm is exactly what it seems like. You're going to hear two downbeats and then two upbeats. And the best way to do this is actually to clap it. So let's try it. Do it on guitar, please. 1, 2, listen to this. Again, go. Again, go. Again, go. Yeah. Again, go. Again, go. All right, great. Yeah, you're set. See, right already, you feel more of a connection to the piece. I gotta tell you, it's a lot of fun to play and to get in there and actually be with the music in a physical way that way. And of course, thank you for coming. Again, I'm Javier Arau on tenor saxophone, and I'll switch to alto with the saxophone. For some reason, I always feel that alto brings out the salsa, so I'll play it on the alto. Maybe I can dance better with the alto with my arms. Okay, here we go. That's great, because then in the very end it can turn into applause. So this one works out really well. This is a favorite one. Because the band is playing this down, down, up, up, and that part is covered, what you're going to lay down is what the drummer would normally do on the kick. And it's the simplest rhythm in the world, but it's the most important one. It's the one that we use all the time. It's what our heart does. It's what we do when we walk down the street. It's what I think of as the left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. That's all it is. And when you're walking down the block, this is kind of a New York tempo. You gotta be thinking like como va when we're walking around. That's it. But basically, you can either stomp, make it back. Now, if for some reason you look at it and you're like, oh my god, my hands are tired. Then just do it on the other beat. How you feel that? It's kind of nice. I call that letting the beat breathe. Alright? Just letting it breathe a bit. Alright, we're going to play over that. Keep that going, okay? That'll be really helpful. Here we go. Stay.